Why play a fighter in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition? This is a new series we're trying out, basically taking a class or a race or something and saying, why should you do this? And it's not really all about the mechanics. It's really more about, from a roleplay perspective, why play a fighter?
After all, the channel's name is Beyond the Role. So we're talking more about the role, R-O-L-E, of being a fighter, rather than the roll of the dice and how that fighter is mechanically built.
In the past, fighters were kind of one-dimensional. They were basically just the guy up front with a sword. But in 5th edition, they changed all that. It's no longer a dip class. What do I mean by a dip class? Something where you might only take like 4 levels so you can get weapon specialization, right? That was 3rd edition. In 5th edition, they've opened it up a whole new way. Fighters get things that other classes can never imagine. Getting the ability to have 2 actions in one turn. They get multiple attacks, more than any other class.
Along with, once you get to a certain level in fighter, you can start to specialize in what type of fighter you are. So you don't have to be the generic stand there with sword and board and be the guy that hits the baddies. You can be a multitude of things. You can be magic. You can be an archer. You can be a sneaky. All these type of things and still be a fighter.
Exactly. What she's talking about is subclasses or archetypes at level 3. And fighters get quite a selection of them. And there's always been the idea that a fighter has to wear full plate and either use a big weapon or use a one-handed weapon and a shield. Well, 5e changes everything. You see, you can add your dexterity or your strength modifier to your damage. So that means a dex-based fighter. Because, hey, you know, I'll be honest, my biggest problem with the strength-based fighters in 5th edition is there's almost no reason to play one. Because you're the fighter. You're the guy who's supposed to hit stuff, right? But your initiative is probably going to suck, which means you're probably going to go last almost every time, which isn't so bad once the first round happens. But if you're a dex-based fighter, guess what? Your initiative is probably going to be pretty decent. And you're going to have better dexterity saving throws, which is probably the most used saving throw in the game. So if you're a fighter, you probably want to avoid that fireball, right?
If you like watching D&D interactions online, particularly on YouTube, you may be familiar with a little channel known as Critical Role.
What's Critical Role? I've never heard of that.
One of our favorite actors on Critical Role is Liam. And Liam plays currently in
Campaign 3.
Campaign 3, thank you very much, a fighter. That's right. Cute, adorable little Orem is a fighter.
A halfling fighter battle master, as a matter of fact. And it's a really cool class to play. And he does it incredibly well. He uses the dexterity of the halfling to his great advantage. And honestly, there's no damage difference. The main difference, I'm going to just tell you right now, is 1 AC. Potentially, a full plate strength base could have 1 AC higher than a dexterity based in the same way. But I think all the other benefits outweigh the strength. That said, if you want to play a big, strong, muscle-bound guy who hits things, I support your right to do so, and please do it. I think it's cool. I don't have any problem with it. But keep in mind, you can also be the skinny little waif in the background with a bow and still hurt stuff just as bad.
And that's what we're trying to illustrate with these how-to-play series, is that you don't have to be stuck in a stereotype when you choose a race or a character concept.
Right.
You can look at all the different variables that are available to you and create your own niche, your own style of what that character should be.
A great example of a fighter that wasn't meant to be a fighter is my current character that we haven't even gotten to play yet, called Lavender Thursday. She is a goblin. There's a long story behind how she became Lavender Thursday and how she became a fighter, but suffice to say, she is a fighter. Now, I knew I wanted her to be a crossbow expert, and I wanted her to be able to do some magic. So immediately I was thinking, you know, rogue, arcane trickster, right? And then I went, you know, I'd be copying somebody from a certain show. I don't really want to do that. So I decided, no, I'm going to do things a little bit different, because she was not that character, but it just kind of ended up being that way. It was just by chance. So I thought, well, what else can I do? Oh, wait, what if I do a fighter? And then there's the Eldritch Knight, which is kind of brings a little bit of wizardly abilities into the fighter class, and it makes it kind of what they call a gish. It's a fighter that can also cast magic. And I thought, this is so cool. But the way it turns out, sure, she can use a short sword and she can use a shield, but in reality, she is a crossbow person. She prizes that crossbow, and she's going to take sharpshooter eventually so that she can dish out a lot of damage with it, and she's going to get lots of shots with it, but she's also going to have quite a few skills. She's a fairly well-rounded character, but she is essentially pure fighter, which in all other editions of D&D was just, you couldn't do it this way. It just didn't make any sense. She's going to end up being quite viable too. And it's all about the role play for us. This is where, what kind of character did you want? I wanted this. And then I realized that the rogue really wasn't doing it, because she's not the type to just go up and do Nova damage once. She's the type to stand there and go pss, 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 and just keep shooting you. So a rogue just isn't going to work. Whereas as the fighter, eventually she can have 3, 6, 7, 8 attacks in one round. I mean, come on, how cool is that? That's at like level 15. At level 20, obviously she'd have more. But how cool is that? This little tiny thing with a crossbow.
And that's just one example of how unique a fighter class can actually be.
You can be everything from dual wielding to sword and board to great sword to throwing weapons to ranged weapons, and everything in between. And the cool part is, depending on how you set the character up, you can switch back and forth. You want to play somebody that uses a rapier and a shield, which rapier and shield, I don't know, it's a weird combo. I know it's done all the time, and I do it too, but it just feels weird to carry a shield. It should be a buckler, you know, swashbuckling. But anyway, forget that for a second. You can go everything from the rapier and shield to put that away and pull out a longbow or pull out a crossbow. You can switch back and forth, and if you're dex-based, you're actually just as good at both. That's the funny thing. A lot of people don't seem to realize that. Strength-based fighters have one huge advantage over their dex-based counterparts, and that is they can pull a Fezzik. And if they see the grate coming down over a drawbridge, they can stop it and lift it up. Try doing that with your 8 strength dex character. Not gonna happen. But strength-based characters can do some of those great feats of strength. And they can carry other things. They can carry lots of things. If you have a party full of wizards and dexers, your DM's gonna have a really tough time justifying how in the heck you guys are carrying those 55 longswords you found along the way. Just saying. So something to keep in mind. There's nothing wrong with either way, and that's the thing. The fighter is the most versatile class in D&D, in my opinion, when it comes to fighting styles and range of fighting styles.
So basically, don't be intimidated by what you may preconceive as the simplicity of the fighter. Go deep, dive deep, and find out how you can make it be your own and fit your personal playstyle.
Now, we didn't even get into all the mechanics and all the multiple possibilities that multi-classing comes into play too, because, oh my god, the video would be far too long. Instead, we just wanted to go over why would you want to play a fighter? And you know what? I'll be totally honest. Almost half of the characters that I play in 5th edition have fighter in them, if not pure fighter. Why? Because it's awesome. Fighters are fantastic. They took a simple class and made it really complex, really rich. The one weakness that they do have, I'll be honest, skills. I'm a skill monkey. I like having lots of skills. There's nothing worse than looking down your sheet and saying, I have expertise in one thing. That just sucks. So there's feats to make up for that. It's all good. Or you can multi-class, you can cross-class for that. No problem. But still, the fighter gives you that basic foundation to build from. Got anything else you want to add for fighters?
We can continue going on with feats and multi-classing, but those are different videos. So I'd like to end this by saying thank you so much for watching, and give Fighter a try.
And may the rolls be ever in your favor.
Bye-bye.